What's up, guys? This is Focus Motion. I'm doing a sweat session for BlackC55. His first foray into Ace.com. And take a look, kind of see anything good, point out, anything bad, point out. I really like, constructive and advice. So here we go. Let's see. Let me change that. Alright, so he raises, min raises. I would like more of a 2.5x raise or a 3x raise. So instead of raising to 20 cents, I'd like to see maybe a 25-cent raise or a 30-cent raise. But that's okay. So it's like min raise, and what that means, generally speaking, min raise is that the clients are going to call you pretty much all the time. Because they're going to see it as a cheap raise. And when you check back here, let me pause this real quick here. So when you raise and this kind of board, and they both check for you. Once if you decide to check back, and I don't necessarily mind a check or a bet here. If you were to bet, I'd maybe bet like 30 cents, 35 cents, and that should take it down. On this flop here, we're not looking at the turn yet, but on this flop here, if you check it back, almost always, regardless of the card that's turned on the turn, I would recommend betting if they check it to you again. If you have to keep in mind, the whole idea is this. You raise, and they don't raise you back, you flop. So that narrows down their hand range to something really not so strong and not very, well, somewhat weak, right? So what hand could be possibly calling you raise pre-flop? Like a hand like, maybe queen, 9, or maybe like a 9-7 suited, or 2-3 suited. I mean, anything really, because I mean, when you're raising two times the big blind, you're looking at, and they're looking at adding, a blind more in the big blind case and a blind and a half more small blind case. They're almost always going to call you, pretty much always, in a sense. Especially at the micro stakes, they can definitely call you a lot. So if you're gonna have them call you, make them pay for it, right? So always keep in mind, if you should have a plan for each street. So if you're not going to bet the turn of the flop, then you definitely want to bet the turn, right? So I think that's what you do. You should. And check. I think I made a little notation saying that you should bet the turn. I think you bet it. Yeah, you bet the turn. That's fine. I think you can bet 35 and they still fold. Yeah, so that's fine. Good results. And nothing too bad. I like it. Cool. Now, there definitely would be a mistake to check the turn, because then you're just giving up basically. And that's okay too if you decide to give up. But generally speaking, when you have position on two people, you should take the lead. And you took initiative pre-flop. You want to take the lead and lead out on a turn. That's fine. And I know I talked to Tommy earlier about this in regards to the closer you get to the big blind, the stronger your hand should be. And so in this scenario, folding is always going to happen pretty much all the time when you're under the gun. The only time you'd ever like raise or enter the pot rather is if you have like big pocket pairs. Any pocket pairs really, in a sense, you want to open for that. You don't want to limp, because that just ends up what happens. Let's say you have pocket 9 under the gun right here, and you limp, and and then let's say J21 raises you, okay, and then he folds, and let's say one other person calls, and so you call, and then the flop comes like king, whatever, I mean, now you can put more additional money in. You don't have the initiative. You're out of position. So you kind of want to make up for your out of position by raising. And that's the whole concept there. And that's what I was at. aiming for. Um, that's my mindset there. Um, I pointed out that I came from the Netherlands and Cubans from Serbia. That doesn't really have a lot to say much, but I mean, generally speaking, people from the European side of the world play a little bit, I guess, not as optimally as you would think. Like, for example, like Netherlands and stuff like that, they play a little bit more aggressive. But yeah, let's see. This seems to be straightforward here. And yeah, good bet. Yeah. Again, if the person ahead of you is not showing any interest, just go ahead and bet out. That's fine. We took it now. That's good. I like it. So much as I've seen this, the sweat so far, BlackC55 really takes good initiative and he's aggressive and picks the spots. So that's good. And I haven't do much so far. I did notice a couple of things later on in the session when I pointed out in the video. But um, yeah. Also, when you're playing on a table, and let's say you're full, which you did here, that's fine. You kind of want to, even though you're not in the hand, you kind of want to observe, like for example, this guy here raises to 27 cents, and that's like over 2.5 times the big line in a sense. Alright, so let's see here. He does 80 cents. He's over betting the pot. Let's see. People. Okay, real quick. Anytime anybody overbets the pot, usually the thing that they have, like for example, he has the flush, but I highly doubt he has a nut flush. He probably has like maybe 7, 8 of spades or some sort of flush. He just doesn't want anybody to call with a naked spade, like an ace of spades, and get there on the turn, and that's usually what I mean. Or they probably have like a jack, and he wants to take it down right there, because usually on a mono flop flush like this right here, it's very unlikely anybody hits that flop. Generally speaking, it's hard to hit them. It's hard. Let's for example, you have ace of hearts and a heart. It's hard for you to flop all hearts. Less likely for that to happen. Also, conversely, let's say there's 3, 3, 5. It's less likely anybody hit a 3 to. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's generally the rule of thumb there. It's less likely for your opponent to have that hand. So for this guy here, I'm pretty much thinking on some sort of like maybe a jack or a small flush and stuff like that so big. Because you're kind of scared. Sometimes people play scared. They just want to take the pot down. They don't want to see him at any other streets, which is, okay. Okay, now you raise it 30 cents. Now, keep in mind, earlier you raised it to 20 cents. I'm not quite sure exactly what you had. Now you raise it to 29 cents. Now, if I'm guessing that this hand right here is actually strong. At 29 cents. Because a lot of people, what they do is they raise small when they have a small hand, or raise big when they have a big hand, right? So I don't know exactly what you have here, but you raised it to 29 cents. So let's see how that works out. Every fold. Okay. But just keep in mind of your pattern, so your raising pattern. So when you raise, you kind of want to keep it consistent. You know. So in other words, I would advocate raising to 25 cents with your ace, king, aces, king, what have you, and also 25 cents with your 8, 7 suited, pocket fives and all that. Keep it consistent. Because then what that does is that keeps your opponent guessing. They can't really pinpoint the hand you have based on your raising amount. So yeah, that's imperative to keep it consistent. So J raises for 35 cents. That's big. A big bet there. And call. and you call. I think I remember this hand here actually. And let me see here real quick. Uh, okay, I'm gonna pause it. I remember what the outcome here is, and as far as I can recall, I was just watching second up to that at that point. Jay has been playing pretty tight, and so when he makes a big bet like that, that's 35 cents. It's indicating that he had a good hand, generally speaking. Um, so if we kind of go with that line of thought, though, if he had a big hand, and let's say, for example, and I know what you have here. If you let's say you're representing, you have 10, you have a 10, right? You have your 10 here, and you know that he has a big hand. If you check and he bets and he calls and you raise, that says you have a 10 basically. I like the fact you let out here if you have 10, a 10 here, but then that kind of disguises it. It almost looks like you have a flush draw in a sense, right? Let's continue the hand here. Okay, he raises, king, think about it, he folds, and think about it, good. That's another thing I like that too. You took your time, because if you super shove all in, that just really says, hey, I got tens, right? But if you think about it, then it makes it more likely that maybe you have hearts. As it stands, no matter what you did, he's falling because he has full of character board. He has kings. And you have him totally dominated 98% to 2%. And yeah, very good hand, nice hand. I like the way he played it. It's fine. Um, let's say real quick though, he weighs 55 cents. If he does not call, I don't want you calling because that's just you're not getting the right enough odds. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense to do that. It's just you know how would I say it? You really don't know exactly what he has. I mean, he have kings, what have you. But let's say on the flop with King 10x, and he has kings, and you have King 10, you know, you're dominated, right? So what I would like to see in the future, BlackC55, if you're in that situation again, call with two people call. When two people call. So when another person calls, so it's a three-way pot. So if it's heads up, King 10 doesn't play well against the heads up pot, against a big raise like that. So to kind of keep that in mind. But yeah, when King calls, then by all means call. He has hot odds to call. And I'll go over hot odds in a little bit. Not in this session, but in the future session. And I got about 2 more minutes left, and then I'll make this a vid. Call it a vid actually, and then we'll go from there. I'll do another part and probably tomorrow. Uh, yeah. Uh, oh yeah, and I'll do one quick point here, and I think that'll be a video here. When you are in a small blind, like I mentioned this before, you don't want to be completing a lot because chances are you're giving up your half a blind when you complete. You're not necessarily going to hit, and you're always going to be out of position. It's just that's the nature of it. You're in the small blind, you're going to be out of position every street of the hand. So unless you have some sort of like good connectors, stuff like that, maybe not complete. You have to have some sort of strong hand to complete. But in this scenario, it's okay because king calls, which gives you the pot odds to call, so that's fine. So he calls, that gives you the ability to call there. So beyond that, everything is fine. I think it plays itself out actually, and I think you bet out and take it down, which is okay, one second. Alright. And yeah, I'm gonna call this a vid. So guys, thanks for watching and close motion and part two coming out in a bit.